Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. We'll be starting shortly. We are waiting for a couple of participants to join, and then we'll be starting the session. Thank you for joining today.
Renuka. Everyone, and welcome to GSTZen, yet another knowledge session series. Today's session is on invoice management system. We had discussed about IMS in 2 webinars earlier, but this is something which is a new concept. We thought it is very apt and mandatory for everyone who is doing GST compliance to be aware of how they have to do the IMS. What I'll be doing is in today's webinar, I will be giving you the basics of what invoice management system is, the workflow of it, how would the IMS interface would look like. I will actually walk you through the on the portal and how GSTZen can help you in streamlining this process. And we will take some FAQs and questions that you have. Feel free to put your questions in the Q&A section. We've been doing the webinar on Zoom platform when we switched to this new platform. So some might have some technical glitches. Feel free to interact either in the chat box or in the Q&A section. Let's start with the IMS, the invoice management system. Now, what is the invoice management system which the government has brought in, the GSTN? There has always been the concept of invoice level matching, and GSTR2 and GSTR3 was originally meant to be that. For some reason, that didn't take off. Then there was a concept of new returns came in, Annexure 1, Annexure 2, all those concepts, even that could not take off. What government felt, GSTR 1 and 3B is working properly. 2A was available to view what are the records. Then with the introduction of 16.2 AA and BA, they have brought in GSTR 2B. The rule got amended accordingly. Now, somewhere the gap still exists, matching of the invoice level. And when we say matching of the invoice level, the invoice is both for the seller and the recipient. So the dashboard IMS is both for the seller and the recipient. So this is now a single window. When the seller uploads his invoices, even he will have a dashboard that these are the records that have been uploaded. The same dashboard exists for the buyer, that these are the records that have been uploaded. Isn't it 2A was the purpose? 2A was the purpose. So you may consider that this is an extension of that to streamline the process of what records you want to take the credit of. So hypothetically, if you imagine a blank screen, there is an invoice that is being uploaded. Now that invoice is visible in the seller dashboard. It is also visible in the buyer's dashboard. Buyer has an options, accept, reject, pending. So basis that action from that invoice dashboard, it is appropriately going to GSTR 2A, 2B, various actions basis where the recipient is taking. Likewise, in the supplier's dashboard, the action taken by the recipient is shown. Right. So this is a new concept that has been brought in. In order to ensure that there is a more improved way to check manage the invoices which have been uploaded, bring more transparency, and they claim that okay, it will be helping avoiding mistakes in claiming the input tax credit. What is the currently we were doing? GSTR1 data used to go to e-invoice, and that is reflected in 2B basis the filing. The normal filing date was 11th. For the last month, portal was down. That got extended say, to 13th. Accordingly, your 2B gets extended. 2B is always from due date of GSTR1 till next month GSTR1 due date. So returns filed before the due date would be coming into the 2B of the current month. This is how GSTR 2B has been envisaged. Basis that the data used to go to 3B. What has been now considered for new GSTR 3B through IMS? The flow is as usual. If you see, supplier is uploading the e-invoice. It is going to the NIC portal, NIC1, NIC2, or any other IRP for that matter. And the uploaded data goes to GSTR1 at T plus 2 days. Supplier can also directly do a data entry into GSTR1. Now, this data which supplier is uploading, it is an invoice. So now what you have is invoice management system. Except reverse charge invoices and ineligible ITC, all the records are shown in the IMS. Why these are eliminated? Reverse charge, because the recipient has to pay the tax and take the credit of it. So he would be reporting it in 3.1D and reporting back again in 4A2 or 4A3 of GSTR 3B. Credits ineligible. Here, they're not talking about 17 subsection 5 or 17.1, 17.2. It's not a blocked credit. Ineligible credit here means if the recipient state is not equal to place of supply. So you're from Delhi and you're taking a hotel in the state of Maharashtra. So the place of supply is Maharashtra. You're not eligible for the ITC. Those records will not come to your IMS dashboard. Next set of records that doesn't come to IMS dashboard is the time barred credits. 16 subsection 4 restricts the time within which one can take the credit. This is up to 30th November. So if someone is filing March 24 return in Jan 25, the sales return GSTR1, if March 24 is filed in Jan 25, even that would be treated as an ineligible record and it doesn't appear in IMS. IMS has an options, 4 options. First one is reject. So the recipient can reject an invoice. I said there is a connection to the supplier. All the transactions where accept reject has been done is reported to the supplier. But when a record is rejected and if it is being a credit note, then the supplier has already reduced his liability and filed his 3B late or with a lower fees, lower tax. So in the subsequent month of the supplier, it will be added as a liability. Now, when we say subsequent month, it is not subsequent month of the supplier. For example, in the month of January, someone is filing a December invoice and the credit note. So with the credit note, supplier liability has come down. Recipient here has rejected the credit note. So recipient doesn't want to reduce the credit. The moment the recipient rejects, in the next month 3B of the supplier, it gets added as the liability. It gets added as the liability. Now the next month 3B is, which is filed on 20th February. Now here the catch is, you may think that the supplier has reported now, it is getting credited into the reverse in the next month. It is not that. Imagine the supplier has filed his credit note in the month of, say, October. And the recipient is filing his GSTR 3B of October now. So his IMS is acting now. He is filing his returns late. So whenever the recipient is filing his 3B, so recipient is supposed to avail credit or reversal of 3B in October. His October is getting filed now. Given that it is getting filed in Jan, in the next month, so October credit note of the supplier will get added back into February. So when we say next month, it is after the IMS is being filed, the next month of the IMS, the supplier will be added to hit his liability. The next action is accept a record. Once you accept a record, it would be flowing back into GSTR 2B automatically. Even if you don't take any action, it would be deemed as accepted. The last option is keep it pending. You cannot keep a pending for credit note. The credit notes and debit notes, you have to necessarily either accept or reject. What we are now looking at is only from the recipient. Does the supplier has any option to make any adjustment of it? The answer is no. Supplier has no option to amend a record in the IMS dashboard. You will only be amending in GSTR1. So the flow is, once a record is kept pending, it will now transfer to the IMS opening, which is of the next month. So all this data is now traveling and reporting into draft GSTR 2B. While you are filing your GSTR 3B, you will hit this recompute button and you will be filing GSTR 3B. What was the normal process? R1 was filed. Basis R1, on 13th of every month, I as a recipient, I would know how much credit is eligible. That data used to be reported in GSTR 3B as my credit. The interim check has come, which says that you have to accept a record. Only the accepted record would be coming as a credit to you. So if you have accepted a record, that record will be traveling to your GSTR 2B. If you have rejected a record, that means it is not there as a credit. If you have kept it as pending, again, that is not there as a credit. So the value of the credit coming into GSTR 2B is further getting reduced with the introduction of IMS. Now, people always have this confusion when 2A and 2B was introduced. What is the source data which I need to use for reconciliation? Do I use GSTR 2B or do I use GSTR 2A? The answer to it is, initially we used to say 2E, now you do 2B. But look at today's situation. Today, IMS has come in and it has replaced everything. You will not reconcile with 2A. You will not do a reconciliation with 2B, but you will be doing a reconciliation with IMS. You will only be doing a reconciliation with IMS. IMS is the way forward for the reconciling your books of accounts. Now, when you reconcile things with your books of accounts, you will say whether it is matched, not matched, or only in the portal or only in the books. This action you will be doing through IMS. So after the data is matched with IMS, there is no new action required on matching with GSTR 2B. 2B versus book is now history. The data is traveling to IMS. From IMS, it is traveling to 2B. Now you have a question that, sir, I have an action called pending here. I also have an action called temporary credit, which is 4B2. Now, can I accept a record? Can I accept a record, park it into 4B2, avail it whenever I want, vis-a-vis? Can I mark a record as pending? What is the difference between these two? When you accept a record, that means you say that record belongs to you. So the credit comes to 4A5 of GSTR 3B. If you intend to utilize the credit in the same month, you are not doing to the reverse. If you feel that you have not fulfilled some of the conditions of section 16 subsection 2, you will park it into 4B2. On the contrary, when you don't even know whether this record pertains to you or not, let's say you are in the finance department, the admin, procurement, none of those people have shared you the invoice. You don't have the copy of the GRN. You don't even know whether the invoice pertains to you or it was erroneously uploaded by someone. In such a scenario, rather than accepting and marking it as temporary reversal, you will be keeping that as pending. I hope now you have understood the difference between temporary reversal and marking it as pending. You also understood if a credit note is rejected, then it will be added to the supplier's next month liability. When we say next month liability, the month in which IMS has been filed, next month of that, it is not the next month of the supplier after he files his credit note. Moving further, let's now continue. The actions that are available is no action, pending, accept, reject. Let's look at these wordings more detail. So when you accept, it would be part of GSTR to be ITC available section. And it would also be auto-populated in GSTR 3B. When you reject it, it will be part of GSTR 2B ITC rejected section. It will not come to 3B. It is not a permanent reversal. It is not even a reporting in 4D2 of GSTR 3B. 4D2 is any other things. What is the value then comes to 4D2? I have told about ineligible credits, place of supply not being your location, or filed record beyond 16.4. Those values directly travel to 16.4 violated, travel to 4D2. When you mark a record as pending, then this will not be part of GSTR 2B of the current month because you have not taken any action for the month. You are choosing whether you have to accept or reject. So it cannot sit into any of the first two buckets. So it will not be forming part of 2B of the current month. And it will remain in the IMS dashboard. So IMS has an opening records received during the period and flushed out of during the period and the closing. And this will not be part of GSTR 3B of the current month since it is not there. Now you haven't taken action. If you have not taken any action, they are all deemed as accepted. If you are not accepting it, they would be deemed as accepted. The moment it is deemed as accepted, then it is auto-populated into GSTR 3B. It's auto-populated into GSTR 3B. Let's move further. So IMS has two dashboards. There is the inward supplies for the recipient, outward supplies for the supplier. Let's start with the inward supplier view. So when I'm looking at inward supplies view, there are all other ITC 676 records. It is showing on how many you have not taken action, how many you have accepted, how many you have rejected, how many you have kept pending. Basis that you can click on this compute GSTR 2B. That means revise the credit that would be available. Another point I would like to mention here. Every record that you have accepted in IMS, not necessarily it will be there in the 2B of the current month and 3B of the current month. Let's go back to that example of October month. I am filing my 3B now. The IMS has all the data, but what goes to 2B is the only credits pertaining to the October. Delay from the recipient side. Let's look at delay from the supplier side. On the 11th of the month or on the 13th of the month, I am now looking at the data in the IMS. IMS is also like kind of near real time. When the e-invoice is done, it will also be there in the IMS. I have taken an action on the IMS, but supplier has not filed the return. What goes to the GSTR 2B is the record should have been accepted or deemed accepted. Supplier has filed within the time, and the data for the 2B is also there. Date, the time in which I can claim the credit, all that are there. So fulfilling all those conditions only, it will be going to 2B. If you reject it, it will not be going to 2B. You accepted it, but the supplier has not filed his R1 on time. Again, it will not be coming part of your 2B. So the actions that you are taking can be done on the screen. I am showing you the government portal at the start. So you have accept, reject, pending button. So you can click off any of that. The moment you click on the right side, the status would be shown as accepted, rejected, or pending. You want to do, there are a lot of records you want to filter it and do. You can filter it by GST number, by invoice type, by status. You can use any of this and you can filter. Before you file, you have a reset button. So once you recompute, you will get a new GSTR 3B. Flow of records, I will show it on a live. Let me pause at this point and see if there are any questions. And let me come back to the screen. More than 500 credit notes, still utility not available. Yes, records are more than 500. Utility portal doesn't support it. I will show how you can handle it. I'll take a live case of 1000 records and I'll show it to you. The SSC supplies. Okay, all the questions have come for more than 500. It's okay. Liability of the supplier is increased. No utility to check. Yeah, supplier dashboard is there. I will show you the supplier dashboard, Siddharthji. By when it is expected to be mandatory, Nagendra Hegde? Sir, we don't know. Hopefully, maybe from 1st April, they will make it mandatory. The position of the government is they want to make GSTR 3B fixed. That means you will not be able to edit. So what is most likely to happen is liability related in 3B would be fixed and IMS would be making mandatory. These are the two things you can expect to be happening. Yeah. So these are the questions. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay. Now, if no action is taken, GSTR 2B, whatever which is generated on 14th of the month, like now, the same thing will be in the draft. So accepted records and no action taken records would be there. Recipient can take action or change action which is already taken. So I've accepted it, but I want to change it to rejected, or I've rejected. I want okay, rejected. You want to, if the supplier has filed, how do I bring back? I will take. If you have kept it pending, you can continue to accept it or reject it. You can take those actions. Compute 2B is an important aspect. If you don't hit this compute 2B, the data doesn't get refreshed and the new values doesn't go to GSTR 3B. This is something that you have to hit the button. Some of you are might getting an error that I'm unable to file. It's all because of this. So you can see on the right below corner, compute GSTR 2B button is there. Move to suppliers view. On the supplier side, in the IMS dashboard, outward supplies, you have list of all B2B supplies, but on the right side, you can see rejected records, because what is more important for the supplier is rejected. See, recipient cannot amend a record. So by default, either accepts or rejects. But if he's rejecting, you should be knowing what records got rejected. If it is of a credit note, then you should know this becomes a liability in the next month. Even the supplier can filter it and see the records on the screen. Like you can see the big screen at the bottom of it. Let me scroll to the right. When you scroll to the right, you will be able to see all the accept, pending, rejected. Let's see this on a live. Before I go to the FAQs, let me what I will do is I will first take you to the portal. I will walk you through the live demo, and then I will come back of how we will be doing the FAQs that you have. All right, let me share the screen. So this is GSTZen login, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with the GSTZen login. Once you log into the GSTZen portal, you can see list of the clients that you have added, and you can manage, multiply, handle multiple clients. Let me just log into the GSTZen account. I'm picking one of the account to understand how IMS workflow happens. There are various features. You can download a report. You can reconcile the data with the government portal. You can file GST returns. This is on one click. What do you want to do? On the right side, there are, in fact, in the last week, we spoke about notice management. Today, we are talking about the IMS. So on the right side, you can see this IMS dashboard. Let me go to the IMS dashboard. To access IMS, you have to log in the data with the government portal using the OTP. So let's log into the government portal. Let me enter the username. So the GSTZen. And this works only with the username and the OTP. Let me enter the OTP. OTP would be coming to the registered mobile number. Once you log into the IMS dashboard, you have various options. Right now, there's nothing. So I can hit on I upload purchase records. So for new users, we have something called tutorial. You have a step-by-step action that you can take. The update actions that you can take or the tutorial. So what I will do is let me move on to the tutorial. I will go on uploading the purchase register. I will download the data from the government portal. I will run the matcher. Then I will apply the accept reject on the website, or I'm using the Excel. We will take all this, which is a natural course. So let me upload a file. Let me just, I've uploaded a purchase register. So upload the purchase. So it is importing the records, and I think this has around 1,500 odd records. Yeah, so the file has been read. Now there are different columns. So it has supplier GSTN in the first name, supplier name. So basis the different column, system has also automatically mapped which is likely like invoice number, which is there in column C. It got mapped to document number. So system has done automatic classification. You can also change it. And I'm saying that, okay, please upload and process these files. By the way, those who are into the finance professional, there is, and most of them use Excel. There is two utilities called ECAT and TCAT to ensure that, okay, your productivity at the desk is high. Okay. Yeah. So there are some invoices, credit notes, taxable amount, and other things. Let me confirm and save the entries. So these records are now imported and uploaded to this. Now on my IMS dashboard, I am refreshing invoices. I am getting the data from the government portal. So it is now fetching the latest details from the IMS portal. All the records got imported. I can say run the matcher, maximum difference in days. I can just give 30 days or whatever the difference. So generally your purchase invoice could be 30 days plus or minus. The difference could be 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees. You can set your own the tolerance limit. Now, once you have done, you can, let me just go back and yeah. So the intelligent matching is completed, and it says these many records, they're in accepted, rejected, pending states, invoices. So you can select the records here manually also. You can see whatever I have given the combination. First, you want to see matched invoices. I will say matched invoices. It is now showing matched invoice, exactly matched or partial match. I can change it to exactly match or partially match. I'm just checking the records are changing. So it is only invoice number mismatch. The amounts are matched, invoice number mismatch. So you are seeing all the records. Now you can take an action. Right now there is no action. You can you can change, select this record, and I'm just saying set it as accept. So even that record got accepted. So you can take action on by record, or you can filter it by invoice number, by GSTN, or you can go on the portal. I want to see all the things which are pending or no action. So I'm saying I want to see only those records. So this is an exact match, but it is no action. The portal action, I have in the portal, it is showing as no action. So I can accept even these two records. I am saying setting it as accept. So you can change the status. I haven't changed saved any of my changes to the portal. You can also say show unmatched invoices. Now these many invoices are in the IMS dashboard but are not matched with your purchase register. You can download it in Excel and see and understand why all this. Now before going there, let me download this IMS versus Excel, books Excel. So I'm downloading this purchase register, IMS versus books Excel. I'm downloading this Excel file. Now in the tutorial, you have this update preference action both on the website or also on the GSTZen. So let me show how this update Excel will work both on the portal and on the Excel. Let me now take you to the Excel. Let me just switch to Excel. Yeah, the file got downloaded. By the way, this is a macro enabled file. You need to enable macros. Here is books versus IMS. Once you download the file, on the top of the screen, you are able to see there is something called GSTZen. So it's a new button that comes in. Now, why is this new button which is there? How is useful? I have downloaded all the data. So it has like 1357 records, both credit notes, debit notes. It has all types of the document type. So document type, if you see the document type is invoice, and whether it is amended, cancelled, or original invoice. So you will be able to see all the categories. You can apply by filter. You can apply by supplier GST number. Or you can do any of the combination and do it. So here, whether the match was an exact match or whether it is only in the IMS, only in the books, what is the type of the match also you have, it is there in your drop down. Now, I have already taken some records accept. Let me go to some records which is pending, okay, which I marked as pending. I can change the action from pending to accepted. I can change the action from pending to accepted. And this change happened, I will upload the invoice. So once I have to log into the portal. So I will just let me log into the portal. So, okay, credentials will change. Yeah, once I log in, I hit this button, upload invoice. The data goes to the government portal automatically, to the GSTZen automatically. So what is happening? The user can make the changes both either on the government portal or directly on our IMS portal. Now, when the change is happening on the IMS portal, now here is my action. I have accepted for some records. So which is this change happened either on the portal or it is happening on the Excel. In either ways, you can make the change. Once these changes are done, you can save changes to the portal. So from no action, I have added 3 records. From pending, I have removed 1 record to the accepted. So I am confirming. So what's happening? Now your IMS dashboard is updated. On the government portal, IMS dashboard is updated. You can see this summary. So what will be, so it is updated. It has refreshed and fetched the new record. So now on the summary, you will be able to see the number of records which are accepted, rejected, pending. You want to take an action only or something where the action has not been taken, you can click only on those records and take action of it. This is the value that will go to your electronic credit ledger for the purpose of GST or 2B. So now the 2B is determining, so in the 2B you only have an option whether you want to take a credit now or whether you want to take a credit in the next month. So this is how the entire workflow of the IMS, like it will also say whether debit note amendment, credit note amendment, e-com, whether any of that records exist, not exist. On a click of a button, it gets updated and processed on the portal. Every time you want to refresh, you can get the latest data. You made some changes, you can save the change. You can hit this button, save changes to the portal. If there are any changes that exist, it gets saved. You can always upload your purchase register from here. You can always download the IMS Excel from the government portal, from the matched records to the Excel. So these buttons are here. For freshers who are little lost, you can go to the tutorial. You can see step by step in which step you have done, what you have done. You can go to the step by step and also you can take an action here. So I think now you got a fair idea of how IMS works and how on GSTZen you will have to take actions on the IMS. Let me come back to the presentation and again I'll come back to the GSTZen portal in a while. Let me just switch to the presentation. So couple of important things. GST or 3B you will be able to file only if R1 is filed and previous month 3B is filed. R1 gets opened only when 3B of the previous month is filed. So everything are now linked. If previous month 3B is not filed, then the 2B of the next month will not get generated. Everything is now sequential. So even if you're taking any action in IMS, unless you file 3B of the previous month, next month 2B doesn't get generated. Unless 2B is generated, you will not know what is the credit that you will be available or eligible to take. Couple of points you should know. Now, I have taken action called accept. You may ask, why is this refresh IMS button required? I have accepted the record. I am presuming that the credit would be available in 2B. But supplier, even before he filed the record, he has edited the record. The moment the record is edited by the supplier, so my status is reset, that I have to again match and accept it. So somewhere still the time you file your after the due date, Ideally, I always suggest you do it after the due date because R1s have been filed. Now he cannot make an amendment. It will amendment only coming through 1A. Now there is a situation in the same month. There is the original invoice and an amended invoice. Okay. Deleting a record. If a document is deleted before filing of R1, even from IMS record dashboard, it will go. So IMS is a real-time mirror replica of GSTR1. So I have entered GSTR1. It is visible in the recipient IMS and the 2A. I deleted it in from my R1. It gets deleted from the 2A and the IMS also. That is why you should always get the latest. The documents that will not be available in the IMS is RCM records, time barred records, ineligible due to POS, or IceGate bill of entry records, credits flowing from GSTR 5 and 6. These records will not be available in the IMS dashboard. Are there any invoices or records where pending action is not allowed? Yes. Your credit notes, original credit note, upward and downward amendment of the credit notes, you cannot keep them pending because supplier is reducing liability. Recipient cannot take a position that I will not take the credit. And the credit notes action, if you see on the portal, the pending button is graded out, so it cannot be marked as pending. If there are original and amended records are in the same period, so GSTR1 is also there, and through 1A someone has made an amendment. So the action which is taken on amended record will prevail over the original record. So since there are two records, whatever is the action, let's say you have accepted original record, rejected the amended record. So original record will not flow to the credit. The amended record you have rejected, so the credit will be moving out. So before acting of the amended invoice, you have to ensure the original invoice is not in the status of pending. Either you have to make it as accept or rejected. Only then you can take an action on the amended record. You cannot keep the original record pending and you cannot take an accept reject action in the new record. Assuming if it is in the different tax period. So in the month of December, someone has raised the invoice. In the month of January, they have amended the record. Then the action taken on the amended record will prevail. So you have now taken whatever is the new action that you have taken. So it will increase or decrease the liability accordingly. What happens if the record is rejected? Rejection could be two types: by mistake rejection, or it's like error is human, right? So by mistake you have rejected it, or you don't want the record to be handled. In such a scenario, you will have to now go back. Let's say if it is by mistake, then you have to go back to the supplier, asking him to restate the record. Now, how will the supplier restate? Let's say I am the supplier. In the month of October, I have filed a return in my R1 with 1 lakh rupees as my turnover, 18,000 as the tax liability. I have issued an invoice to you. You have rejected it by mistake. You are coming to me. I cannot now add one more 1 lakh because my liability gets amended. Again, this is one important thing which I want everyone to pay specific attention. Every record which is entered once can be amended. Where do we amend? We have table 9, B2B records amendment. In the table 9, you select the record. You don't need to change anything. You just submit it. Don't increase the liability, don't decrease the liability, don't change any record. Earlier, to amend a record, there should be a reason. I can amend GST number, I can amend taxable value, tax amend, or anything I can amend. Now, GSTN has changed the feature, made it an option that one time you can resubmit the same record. What happens when you resubmit the same record? It comes back to the recipient dashboard. So earlier I have rejected it. Now I will accept it. The credit will come back. You may ask a question. That what happens second time also I have rejected. GSTN has no facility given if a record is rejected second time, I cannot amend a record twice. I cannot amend a record twice. So right now, even I don't have an answer if a record is rejected twice. How will the supplier show that liability, or supplier might now need to issue a credit note and take an action on it. This is an area which is like kind of gray area. Given a situation, recipient rejecting after filing of R1, before filing of R1. If it is before filing of R1, then the I'm just restating entering into R1, so it comes back. The recipient can take the credit. If my R1 is filed either through 1A or the subsequent R1, I will post the amendment record. If it is by accident, the step is same. You have to go back to the supplier, ask him to reissue. Reissue is not the right word. I'll say resubmit the record so that the line items come back to you. What about quarterly payers? Now, if you see quarterly payers, they are not taking any action on 2B in month 1 and month 2. It is quarterly, they are only filing the returns. Monthly, they are anyhow paying the taxes. And in 3B, they are computing their ad hoc liability and doing. So for the quarterly taxpayer, 2B is generated only in month 3. Hence, so the 2B gets generated on 14th of the quarter plus 1 date. How many times I can regenerate GST or 2B? There is no restriction. Every time you think you have changed IMS, you can hit the GST or 2B. That is before filing of 3B. And what will happen to 2A? 2A will continue. It will be generated. 2A is the mirror replica of R1. Is it mandatory to recompute 2B? Yes, if there is any change that you have done, you have to compute. Can a supplier amend a forward charge invoice to reverse charge? And what will be the impact? Answer is yes. Supplier can make any of the amendment. When such amendment happens, then the credit will also travel out. So it will move out from the IMS dashboard, because the IMS dashboard will not have RCM records. Other liability can be added in the same GST or 3B in case where credit note is rejected by the recipient before filing 3B of the supplier. Let me state, liability will be added in the same month 3B. If the credit note is rejected, answer is no. If it is rejected, then the liability is added to the supplier to the next month 3B of the month in which it is rejected. So whichever the month it is rejected, that month, next month 3B, it gets added to the supplier's dashboard. So what are the 3B changes which are coming? Now portal said they will be locking. We will have to wait. So auto-populated values based on 1A IFF will be locked. So 3B, you will not be able to edit it. I don't know when. So initially they said Jan, but we have to wait and see till when they would be making it mandatory to be logged. Here are some of the coordinates. If you have any doubt on the IMS implementation, you can reach to me. If you have any doubts on how to use the portal, how to use GSTZen, please contact the support 7406 441122 or write to support@gstzen.in. There is a GST updates group. You can scan this QR code. You will get the latest updates about GST on time to time. With this, I come to end of the presentation, and we will look at if there are any important questions that you have which are not answered. Let me go to the chat box. Currently, we have faced supplier filing respective month, but not reflected in 2B and reflected in IMS dashboard. It is difficult to understand what we can trust and take. Question from Krishna Gaude, sir. Sir, very valid point. See, IMS is a mirror replica of R1. So, record will be there in IMS, but he has not filed his R1 yet. So, data will come to 2B only in two situations. R1 is filed, you have accepted. If any of this is pending, it doesn't travel to 2B. Let's say you have accepted, but R1 is not filed yet. Or R1 is filed, but you kept it as pending or rejected. Again, it will not go to 2B. So you should know there would be a difference between IMS and a 2B. Whether GSTR1 can be edited if credit notes rejected by the vendor is wrongly done. Sir, if let's say I've issued an invoice for 1 lakh and I've issued a credit note for 1 lakh, technically my liability is 0. But recipient has accepted the invoice, he has taken the credit, rejected the credit note, and liability has come to me. Can I do an amendment? The answer is again in the next month you will have to make that amendment of whether you will make the credit note 0. It is a contractual call. What will happen if we keep record pending in IMS after 30th November of subsequent year? Very good question by Arun Natarajan. Mr. Arun, if a record is kept pending till 30th September of the next month, that means you are hitting 16 subsection 4, the credit would be lost. On the contrary, if you are parking it into pending credits of 4B2, that means you have availed the credits and you parked it temporarily, that means you are not hit by the limitation of 16 subsection 4. So 2 times, both the places the credit is not availed, but in one situation, credit gets lapsed. In other situation, the credit will be restored. 3B liability is getting increased if credit notes are rejected. Yes. Can we check rejected credit notes on GST portal? I have shown you on the supplier's view. There is a rejected documents. You will be able to see. We had issued credit note to the supplier in this month and reported the same in the coming month returns, reducing our liability. If the recipient receives the credit note and does not reduce in the month we are filing, will the credit note will add back in our February 25 liability? Yes. If the credit note is rejected because the recipient cannot keep it pending, if it is rejected, it will get added in your February 25 liability. So assuming in Jan he is rejecting, in February it gets added. My client will have Metro cash and carry bills every month. He will purchase for personal use. In this case, I should reject these invoices? No, you will not be rejecting this invoice. You will be accepting these records. It would be coming into 4A5 and you will be reporting into 4B1. The invoices pertaining to you, you will be accepting it. So accept and reject is not talking about eligibility and ineligibility. Whether the record pertains to you, accept it. If you think it is ineligible owing to 17 subsection 1, it is personal transaction, report it into 4B1 of GSTR 3B. There is a confusion as how the ineligible feature works in IMS. After getting invoice, we will decide whether we can avail or not. Please note, Sri Hari Rao, the ineligible we are talking about ineligible basis place of supply and 16 subsection 4. Like in the earlier question which was asked by Mr. Kirti, you will know that you will be accepting it. You know whether it is eligible or ineligible, whether it is Metro personal use or IA towards exempted supply, whether 17.1, 17.2 or 17.5, only you will be knowing. Those values you will be reporting in 4B1. What is ineligible marked by the portal is place of supply not equal to location of recipient or time barred. So records uploaded after 30th November, those are the one marked as ineligible. So one more question, what would be the ITC pertaining to 3 or 4 months back, which comes now for payment and available matching for ITC, but it is not yet available in IMS because IMS generated in November, October onwards. So if a record is now coming for payment, question that comes is, let's say in the month of June, what did you do? See, government has given an advisory that the credits pertaining to you, you will have to take it. If you have a doubt, mark it pending. Ideally, you should have taken as a 4A5 and reported as 4B2 then. If you have not done, take a credit now. If you get a notice, you'll get DRC 01C, Part A, stating that you have availed extra credit. In Part B, you can make a reply saying that, okay, this pertains to the earlier period which have now availed. You can give a reply. I hope, Nishant, you got an idea. Pretty good. We are well within the time. We have answered all the questions that has come. My contact is there in the Mr. Arun. It is there in the presentation. So in this slide. So it is venu@vnv.ca. You can always reach, and anything on how to use IMS and how do I verify all those, you can reach to support@GSTZen.in. Well, we have come to the end of the session. This session is recorded. It will be shared, and we also have the presentation. The copy of the presentation would be shared to all of you. Anything, Akila, which I have missed, you want to add? Utkarsh, if something that I have missed, you think should be added, you can share. Otherwise, we can end the session.
So one participant has raised a hand. So
You can unmute them. So,
yeah,
Mr. Mittal, you can ask a question.
yeah, I'll unmute.
Unmute yourself and ask.
Hello, you can ask the question, sir.
Maybe it got done by accident. All right. So I think, Utkarsh, we can conclude the session.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.